Nothing like hearing yourself on the air. Good morning. This is Tampa Home Talk, and today's show is live. It is May 24th, 2024.
But I was telling people to smash the like and subscribe button on a pre-record there.
Yeah, you were. You can still do that.
Hey, make sure you smash the like and subscribe button. This is Tampa Home Talk. Welcome home. 813-377-2775. That's 813-377-2775. We got an exciting hour all lined up for you today.
Yeah, let me talk about our guest really quick, and then we'll jump in. I just want to introduce him. Mr. Isaac Murillo is going to be joining us this morning with Next Door Photos. Welcome to the show. Let me get you potted up here. Look over here. Let me see what microphone you're on. Let's have you say good morning to our guest. There you go. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. And then the topic for today's show is going to be 10 things that realtors can do to set the listing up for success as it relates to real estate photography. We're going to talk all about this in just a minute. Leo and I have a little bit of real estate banter to chat about this morning right after we go over the numbers. Were you going to jump into something before I introduce Isaac?
No, we got some numbers here to talk about.
We do. You want to go over the numbers?
The numbers here, I mean, like, this is awesome. You get all these negative articles about the Tampa Bay area and how our real estate market's collapsing and all this stuff. And you look at the numbers, and they've been steady for the past 2 months. Just around, above or beyond, 1,000 new listings with about 1,000 pending listings. We've been very steady. So I don't know, where do these, and these are all single-family homes, by the way. We'll talk about condos in a bit. But where is all this fuel for all these negative Tampa articles? Was it the rising housing prices? Is it the kind of leveling off? Why is Tampa Bay getting such negative press in the news? If we look at these numbers going all the way back to the beginning of April, we've been steady since the beginning of April with these numbers.
So I saw this. There are some heat maps that talk about like some places are on fire, they're unloading inventory, it's not doing well, this and this and this. When they mix all the data, including condos, you're going to see some of that.
Well, condos is a
different animal.
It's a different animal right now. Until the Senate Bill 4D stuffs with the milestone inspections and the reserve studies and the hyper rate of insurance goes up. Once all those dues normalize, we'll start to see the condo market kind of stabilize. But until that point, okay, so Pinellas probably looks really crappy right now when it comes to condos.
Yeah.
As far as what do we got on condos on the market?
So I'm trying to. So Gary, he does a whole market analysis in depth, even more than what I do. And so he was pulling some data from April. I wasn't in that yesterday. I was in a different meeting, but Maddie was there and she handed it to me. And I was like, this is a great topic for radio. We're going to talk about it. But when you look at the active stuff, there is they have non-distressed total, just Pinellas, right?
Right.
6,434.
Active?
This was for the whole month, like as of April. And then sold were 1,743. And then the condos, look at the condos are half of that number. So 3,521 of that 6,000 is condos.
So basically,
the absorption rate's 37. When you look at the condos, look at that. I know it's hard to read the handwriting, but the absorption rate, 2.7 months with what we report in terms of single family. And not that we don't sell condos. So I don't want the person listening to think, oh, you don't sell condos because you guys don't report it. We do sell condos, but look at this. 54%, over 54, almost 55% of the inventory are active condos.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. No one wants to buy a condo right now. And lenders won't lend on condos until they've had their milestone inspection done and their structural integrity reserve study. Insurance companies don't want to insure condos unless they get their roof replaced. It was like a perfect storm. The insurance company said you got to replace your roof. The state of Florida said you're underfunded and need to raise your dues. And it just kind of became that perfect storm. So people had no longer condos to sell, they had condos to list.
Yeah, so the Pinellas market especially, like when you look at this, it tells a story. So when people say, oh, you have all this stuff and that's not right, and you're not a 3-month supply of homes. But we're like almost a 4-month supply of homes. When you add condos in the mix, it changes the dynamics for sure.
Oh, definitely. I mean, and I would foresee that until the end of 2025, condos is still going to be a toxic market.
Might be a little longer because when you get really heavy hefty absorption rates like that and the market is saturated with active listings, you're going to have a whole cycle of other stuff that happens where these special assessments come up. The sellers can't afford it. The buyers don't want to pay for it. So now you're left with the people that are paying to pay the load for everybody else because it still has to get paid. I see some of this being rolled into the tax bill because taxes always get paid and they're going to have to balance this out somehow.
What gets rolled into the tax bill?
Think about the special assessments, right?
They can't get rolled into the tax bill.
They're going to have to treat it as a special assessment of some sort. If let's just imagine you have a condo community and there's 1,000 units in there. Half of them are listed, and let's say most of those can't afford to pay the special assessments. They're sitting, the buyers don't want to take them. What do you think is going to happen?
Foreclosures.
It could be some, but I think they're going to start rolling some special assessments and taxes.
So I'm going to say, not an attorney. I am very well versed in the condo market. There's something called a safe harbor. So normally what ends up happening is when there's a special assessment that can't be paid, the HOA's really only recourse there is to foreclose on the unit. Now, sometimes there's a mortgage over that because the mortgage is always higher than the HOA's positioning when it comes to lien rights. So what ends up happening is sometimes the HOA forecloses on a homeowner, takes possession of the unit, and then starts renting it out to make money. They still have to pay the mortgage, or they just stop paying the mortgage. If they stop paying the mortgage, then the bank then forecloses on top of the HOA. But what's really neat about this, neat being bad, of course, is when the bank forecloses on the HOA, the money owed on the condo doesn't disappear.
Correct.
So whoever buys the condo in the future owes that special assessment.
Right. The HOA's foreclosure is to try to offset those costs, right? To get their dues, to get that stuff. We saw a lot of this with even homes. I think it's going to be a different animal in condos. I think it's going to change the dynamics. And we'll see. I mean, there is a way to add it into taxes as a non-ad valorem. We don't see it often, but I think there's a chance it could happen.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see that, because if you have the condo that basically forecloses and then starts renting it out, they're probably not going to make their money back unless they're paying the mortgage. And then you can end up in a situation where the condominium association owns like 20% of the units. And I've seen this happen before firsthand during the housing market collapse. Little different story now, because with these increases in dues, if they come with a failure of a milestone phase 1, which is that inspection the state wants, they have to do construction work within a year and a half. So
and come up with the cash to do that on top of that?
That's the trick. No one knows where the cash is coming from in these scenarios. So even if the HOA forecloses on the unit, foreclosing on the unit doesn't mean they're going to have the money then to do the construction work. So they end up having to do a follow-up special assessment on the people who are paying. So you get double whammied if you are one of the people who are paying just to keep your unit.
You're going to love this chart. And if you guys want a copy of it, you can call or text us and we'll send it to you if you're in Pinellas by chance.
813-377-2775. That's 813-377-2775.
If you're in Pinellas and you want this and you're in a condo, we'll send it to you. Yes, call or text that number. Look at the numbers. This is 2017 to 2024 residential listings in Pinellas County. It does include condos. And well, this is just single family. Hold on, this isn't that right. But look at the listings here. 2024, 2017. You can see the down years when stuff was really strong.
Yeah, I mean, when looking at this chart, we're basically seeing that in the good years when we were in like a hyper seller's market, everything had under a month of inventory. You put something on the market, you got 4 or 5 over-asked offers.
We saw less than a 2-week absorption rate.
It was crazy.
About a week absorption rate.
Just the announcement of an open house got you 4 or 5 offers. Back then, yeah, things were hot, things were listing. People were listing crap, like utter crap. We were inspecting it, and people were like, well, it's the only thing I can get under contract. I'm going to buy it. I'm like, well, you're basically buying a sinkhole property that's actively falling into the ground. It's like, gotta live somewhere. Well, I'm like, hope you like living in Middle Earth.
Anyway, it'll be interesting to see how this condo situation shakes out. I'm pretty good at predicting stuff. I won't predict this one because I don't know where it's going to go.
At least
I think over 2 years.
2026 before we start to see the turn on that.
I think it'll be
at least 2026. Because here's the other problem. You can be a good condo that 2 years ago, when the bill went into effect, you got your reports done. You've already increased your special assessments. or you were properly budgeted and you didn't have to, you can be one of the good condos, but you still have the stigma of being a condo. So even if you have all this stuff in order, you still have that stigma and people still don't want to touch it.
Well, the buyers are like, oh, condos, right? They're just like, oh, I don't know if I want to touch a condo right now.
Meanwhile, I'm moving into a condo at the end of next year.
Yeah, well, your condo's new. It should have no issues.
Yes, and I can't wait to get out of a house.
I'm surprised it's new. Like new. Yeah, you're like
New.
that 7-year or 4-year sweet house. Is that 4 years?
So if you're buying a single-family home, you
single-family
generally
home. Got
want
it.
something between 4 and 7 years old. You want all that construction defect stuff to percolate to the surface. You want to know exactly what's going wrong with the house. Now, a new build condo is a little different because the whole building is going up floor by floor. So it's different.
Are you inspecting this thing as it's being built?
Actually, it's neat. The builder
Are you doing your unofficial inspections?
the buyer I'm buying from is actually doing weekly videos, weekly construction update videos. So I actually get to watch the construction happening.
The builder?
The builder.
Okay. You said buyer.
The builder.
You are the buyer.
I am the buyer. Well, the buyer is watching the videos.
Yeah,
the builder
okay.
is making. But yeah, the builder's making videos. They're actually ahead of schedule. This is neat. Another neat thing is right now we're in a semi-recession when it comes to construction. So they're ahead of schedule because they have more access to supplies and labor than they're used to having. So it might be sooner than September.
It might be. We're going to update your comp so you know where you're at.
You got to get off your butt, Missy, and sell
I
my
know.
house.
If I give you a number now, you're going to be looking for that same number, and it's not going to be the same when you're ready.
Well, I still have to put lipstick on that pig.
Yeah, you do. It's a great house. Your house really is great, and the location is good. It's close to Tampa. It's got that ADU, which people love. There's a whole different market for that, and it's got that charm, that Seminole Heights old bungalow charm.
Yeah.
And they can have chickens.
And they can have chickens.
You can't have chickens at your condo. What are you going to do with them?
I'll just buy eggs. Oh, no, the chickens, they'll just go to the new owner. And if the new owner doesn't want them, I'll find a good pot for them.
Maddie will take the chickens probably.
So I don't mind making jokes about my house because just like making jokes about my house, it's like I can also make jokes about cameras.
Okay. What do you got?
Because it all disappears in a flash.
Oh, there you go. Look, this is the dad joke. right on time. All right. We're going to introduce Mr. Isaac Murillo real quick before we roll to the break. He is the owner of Nextdoor Photos. He serves the greater Tampa Bay area here. He was born in the DR, and he graduated with a BA in marketing and business management. Strong media and communication background, over 15 years in diverse sales, customer service, leadership, and training. So we're going to talk all about Nextdoor Photos and 10 things that you can do or your realtor should be doing to set your house up for success as it relates to real estate photography. And before we jump into that, I will share some stats that I have in my brain from the National Association of Realtors Profile of a Home Buyer and Home Seller, which will tie right into our topic this morning. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. Our off-air number is 813-377-2775, 813-377-2775. You can call or text that number, and we'll be back in a flash. Stick around.
Well, good morning. Welcome home. This is Leo Kane with Beryl Engineering and Inspection, reminding you that cameras always love the New Year's holidays because they can't wait to be in resolution.
You're on point this morning, Leo. On point. All right. So every year, NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, they do an in-depth study that's the profile of a home buyer, the profile of a home seller, and these are really in-depth reports. And so we pull little pieces of this data every year to put in our listing presentation, which is why I know it by heart. I don't have it in front of me on my outline. But I can tell you in that study, 96% of buyers bought a home because of a syndicated listing website. What does that mean? A syndicated listing website means we as realtor members list it in the multiple listing service or the MLS, and then we syndicate it to more than 300 other sites. Some of those being the big Z one you guys are familiar with, or realtor.com or homes.com, and some of them, those are all syndicated listing websites. So 96% of buyers are going to start their home search on the web, likely on one of those sites or another similar site. 86% of those home buyers inquired further about the home and brought an agent to go see it based on the online presence. So the online presence, which got the eyeballs to look at it, inquired them to go see it, and then literally go look at it. And the interesting stat, just to kind of tie a bow on that and circle back around, 9% comes from things like radio, and just other means like the local marketing, social marketing, that sort of stuff. And 7% comes from yard signs, open houses, things like that. So it's a pretty big disparity between like the online presence that's coming from the people that just see stuff on the ground. And it'll be interesting to see how this continues to change after August, because I think it will. The numbers will be vastly different in the next, I don't know, year and a half when they report again. But going back to the 96% of buyers choose a home based on the syndicated listing website, and then 86% inquire further to see it based on what they saw online. I can tell you that photos matter. The photos absolutely matter. And so if the photos don't accurately depict what's there, if they don't accurately show off the home and help sell it, that's going to help determine if people are going to come to see your home or not. And I can't tell you the times I see the photos online. And yes, these phones are great. They take some amazing photos, but not when you're selling a $500,000 house. I mean, that's not, you want a professional photographer. So I'll see, pictures with a cell phone. The lights aren't even on. Stuff is not picked up. There's junk all over the counter. I mean, just stuff that it's like, who did this?
Well, I like those new cameras I'm seeing now. Like we're using these public adjusters. I'm actually doing reports in other states from cameras taking these photographs. But basically, they can take a picture in the center of the room. It gets the whole room. I had one photo log to review where I just clicked on the different dots. And I was walking from room to room, and I could look around. I could basically do not a full home inspection, but I could do pretty much what I needed to do to determine leaks, to see what was working, what wasn't, where cracks were, if they were old, if they were new. But this was neat because I just click the button and I just kind of circle around, project that onto a huge TV, and now I get the immersion feeling of
walking through
a house that's in a different state.
The Matterport technology has actually been around for a while. You guys probably use it or use something similar.
Absolutely. And we definitely saw an increase. It was our second most requested service option after photos because during 2019, 2020, we pretty much went through a space in time that people were not comfortable letting people go inside of their house. So our photographers were capturing those 3D tours that also kind of allowed for people to come from out of states and make, even before coming from, let's say, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, they were able to see the house online and make a decision there and decide to move over here.
I mean, some of them, like in the height of COVID, sellers weren't letting people in their house. So people were literally looking at the online to make a decision, or they're looking through the windows. I mean, it was like that. It was pretty funky. One of the funkiest times I think I've ever seen in real estate. And I've done this for 3 decades. It was definitely odd. So let's talk about using a professional as it relates to photography. And there's very few homes that we activate with a cell phone picture. Sometimes those are extreme distress. For us, it's going to be extreme distressed properties that likely have the courts involved or something like that. There's no point to professionally photographer that. You are selling that to an investor, and they could make an offer sight unseen. So it's not the right match, right, in terms of professional photography. But any other property, even if it's a homeowner, small property, cheaper sided thing, all of those get professional photography. So talk about that. Can you talk about your experience where someone has either used a different photographer, or maybe they use those cell phone pics that we're talking about, and that maybe the seller's complaining and they're like, aren't you using professional photography? And they're like, well, maybe I should call a pro and have this house photographed.
Absolutely.
Have you experienced that before?
Yes. Actually, my first aha moment into real estate photography came years ago, where I was sitting with a friend of mine. He invites me to go watch a football game of his team, the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not a Dallas Cowboys fan, but I noticed that although he invited me to his house to watch this game, he was not paying attention to the game. and all he was doing, it was just scrolling his phone like up and down. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You invite me to watch the game and you're not watching the game. He's like, well, I'm ready to purchase a house, so I'm just looking at different listings. So that ties along with what you mentioned, that 96% of people are actually looking at listings the first time on their phones. So professional
Somewhere
photos,
online.
exactly, they're going to matter.
Yep.
So if you're not using professional photos, guess what's going to happen? They're going to skip to the
Keep
next
scrolling.
house. They're going to keep scrolling. But if
Scroll.
the information, the marketing that you're providing for that listing that you're selling is enticing, and you're using different services, photos, you're using a floor plan, you're using video or a 3D tour.
Floor plan, I'm glad you brought that up. It was actually one of the most requested features in listings that don't exist.
Hey, Katrina, just had a random idea.
What?
You know how there's a lot of dating apps out there? You put your information in and then it gives you matches and stuff like that.
Yes.
Could we make one for real estate?
That's called real estate agents. That's what we do.
No. I mean an app, like an actual, like the dating style of app. On your phone, you can swipe left, swipe right. You get more information about the home. You can scroll through pictures. You can read its profile. I mean, like,
That's a good idea.
that actually is a good idea to make a
Yeah.
dating app, but because instead of it being a dating app, it's actually a home purchase app.
Date your
Yeah.
house.
I'm just saying I think it's a good idea. I think it could be
my
fleshed
brain
out.
doesn't think like that because I've been married for so long that I just don't like, none of that existed when I met my husband. So I forgot about the swipe. I'm not on those sites. So I don't know how they work.
I'm not on their sites either, but I know how they work.
Well,
I'm
you
just,
probably were before you met your wife, weren't you?
And I'm just thinking that,
Were you on that dating sites before you met your wife?
no.
Did they exist?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, but I just think there could be combine the two, because you already have these people on the dating apps, and you already have these people that probably on the dating apps met someone, and now they want to buy a home, so they could naturally move into a home finding app that has a similar interface.
Not a bad idea.
Not at
my
all.
Someone's
technology.
listening and probably patenting my idea right now.
Give us a call. We'll partner up. Let's do it.
You should go and do that first, though. Patent that idea before.
If you have any IT technical experience and you want to get in on a new business venture, 813-377-2775. We'll talk. 813-377-2775. I've got a lot of ideas on how this could work properly. We could like copy a Bumble or a Match or a Harmony or one of those type setups, and you can match people to homes that way through algorithms and AI, and it can be linked to Katrina, who would be the real estate broker, brains behind it.
There's a lot of that already exists. Like I know Keller Williams already has a lot of that technology on their app. I just don't know if it has a swipe left. I'm gonna have to send it to you, Leo. You're gonna.
We
look at it
could
and see.
make a house that has a heart logo, and the heart logo could actually be a house inside of it or something like that. My brain's like already there. I'm serious. This is a great idea.
All right. So let's go back to setting yourself up for the real estate photography, right, for success. So the second bullet point on our list is clear communication. And I think that's a big one. Providing your photographer with clear communication on what you're expecting, some of the key features that you want to make sure they don't get missed, right?
Absolutely.
And then the property highlights that might require a very specific shot. Do you want to give some examples on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the clear communication has to go both ways. The realtor has to communicate clearly with the sellers on any specific features that they think will be a good highlight to show on the photography, so that then along the realtor can either write it on the notes when they are communicating with the photographer. In our case, on our website, when you're placing orders directly there, you have a note space that you can write anything specifically that you want to highlight and you want the photographer to know. And also communicating in person when the photographer's there also helps with understanding the different sightseeings and views that they want to add. Maybe it is amenities that it has.
Yeah, I like all the.
Yep.
Anytime there's a community with amenities, I like it in my photos. I like it included. Let's talk about how you guys set up when you get to the property. Like, what are some of the things that you do? Because I think how your photographer sets it up before they shoot also is a huge factor in how your pictures come out. So we'll talk about that as soon as we come back. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. Our off-air number is 813-377-2775. 813-377-2775. You can call or text. If you'd like to get connected with Next Door Photos, you've got some questions about photography, real estate, Leo, myself, or Adam, text away. 813-377-2775. We'll be right back.
This is Leo Kane, entrepreneur here at Tampa Home Talk, thinking of all the good ways that we can take the exciting photographs from Next Door Photographs and make them even more in your face and more enticing and attractive.
Well, I think property preparation is everything.
That's right.
I mean, that's a big deal. We have a very strategic plan we follow on our listings, and home staging is, I would say, over 85% of our listings get staged because home staging matters. It works. Buyers are more willing to overlook defects that you find in your inspection report, Leo, when the home is staged because people fall in love with it. They like it.
It becomes an emotional purchase.
Yeah, they like it. It's got a good feeling. So what are some of the things you see? And let's talk about, from a photographer's perspective, what it's like when you go there and it's been all set up and it's perfect and you can tell the real estate agent gave rocking instructions and the stager's been there and everything's just perfect, compared to you go in there's been no preparation, the bed's not made, and you're let's talk about that from the photographer's perspective.
Definitely a night and day situation comparing one to the other. We love it when everything is tidied up. We actually created a checklist that gets delivered with every single photo shoot session that you book on our website, so that.
And how many people are following that? Are they following it, your people?
Not a lot.
Not as many as you would
Not as
like?
many, but I always try to, besides having it on the invoice that is sent to them, also communicate to them, hey, listen, I'll send them to them on a text message. Hey, share this with the sellers, because the sellers will go and checklist, but sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But the better situations are when the real estate agent is present maybe an hour before, and they are making sure that everything is already ready and set up, because there are some nightmare scenarios where we go and it's.
I've seen really good collaboration too. I mean, there's a lot of times that I'm there and the photographer and I are looking at stuff, and then sometimes I think the room's okay and they're like, no, this is going to show. Or I'm like, no, I don't like that. Let's fix that before we shoot it. So that collaboration is pretty good between the real estate agent and the photographer.
Absolutely.
So what happens when you get there and the realtor's not prepared them? The beds aren't made, there's stuff out, there's nothing different in the house than how they live there every day.
So generally, what I advise my photographers, and what we do is we pretty much just say, hey, listen, let me go grab some batteries in my car. And so my photographers, what they generally do is they take a phone photo of the condition of the house. They go outside, then they send me that photo, and they're saying, hey, this is how the listing is looking. The realtor is not here. Should we go ahead and capture the photo? Generally, the answer is going to be no. And we're going to communicate with the realtor, hey, this is the current situation. Now, if the realtor's there, they're going to assess the situation. And if, depending on who it is, they might say, let's go for it because we need to put it in the market today. We generally wouldn't recommend that.
Let's talk about the ones where the people are still living there.
Yep.
And maybe they've done their best, or they've tried, or they've got some stuff done.
No,
but there's still,
feel sorry for them.
There's still stuff everywhere, and they're moving stuff from room to room as you're photographing them. That happens, right?
Yes, it does.
Let's talk about that. Talk about that.
Yes, it's not ideal just because it takes also extra time for the photography appointments to be completed. And it's the sellers themselves, even though they're helping them moving everything around, they're getting tired after they noticing that it's been an hour and a half. But that could have been done in maybe 40 minutes if everything was in place. So actually connecting with them first and making sure that those things take place before is what's going to help them have a more smooth transition in that part of the service.
So let's talk about access, like access to the property. How when does that hinder you? When does that help you? Just your thoughts about access.
So access, depending on the particular situation of that listing, sometimes we have listings that they have combination lock boxes. Sometimes they have super access. I have some of my photographers that have super access, and they can go to those particular listings. And that has helped us to offer a bigger service in terms of that, because if it's a house that's not no one's living in it, and it's empty, you don't necessarily have to be there to guide the photographer or make any suggestions about the photo on a particular room that's completely empty,
Yeah,
right?
I don't like shooting an empty house. It's
Yes.
just not advisable. We skipped over the setup. So when you get there, what's some of the first things you guys do? Let's say the house is pretty ready, the beds are made, it looks decent. What are you doing?
Well, the first thing is that when we approach the sellers and the realtor there, number one, if in the information that we're getting in the invoice, the realtor says that it's going to be there, our photographers are going to wait for them. If they're running a little bit late, we're going to be communicating with the realtor. Once we get there, we're going to explain to the seller how the process is going to go. And pretty much it goes as simple as telling them that we're going to go throughout the house first to take a quick tour so we can understand the surroundings of the house. And then as we move along, we're going to tell them that we need the blinds to be open for the natural light to come in.
Is that anything that you guys do? Do you guys go through and open the blinds if it's empty and you're the only one there? You guys
Absolutely,
doing that?
yes.
Okay.
We open the blinds and we turn on the lights, and when we're leaving, we're closing those blinds and turning off the lights as we go.
Yeah, I don't know why people don't think about, but something as simple as all the blinds need to be open, all facing the same way. Be careful about what you're looking out at,
Yes.
right? That may determine which way they need to point. All the lights have to be on, every single light.
Absolutely.
And then the staging helps create a great flow with color, with eye positioning. And I use this all the time with my sellers when we're sitting down looking at comparable home sales. We'll sit there and we'll look at their properties and we're looking at other comps, right? So other homes that have sold, or maybe they're active homes that's going to be their competition.
Yep.
Right? So we're looking at this and I'm like, okay, I want you to look at, we're looking at the comps, but look at the photo and tell me where your eye goes. What's the first thing that your eye sees in that photo? And that's the difference between a staged home and a non-staged home. So if it's a staged home, your eye will just flow across the whole photo effortlessly. It just kind of all flows together. If it's not staged and it's just a picture, it will boom. There'll be like one thing that your eye just goes to. It's hard to describe, but when you look for that and someone explains it and you look at it that way, you see it.
Yes, absolutely. And we work with stagers, and they do a phenomenal job at that because they really showcase what almost like the intention of the potential buyer of like, oh my God, I would love that place to be furnished exactly like it looks right there. So working with stagers and professional photos, I think it helps along with selling those homes that are not occupied, but you want to showcase what it will be like if people live in those places.
How do you highlight certain features about a house? Like if the house has just amazing character, let's say it's a 100-year-old home like Leo's and it's got some really cool architectural details. What are the things you're photographing?
Well, number one, that communication is always key to let us know, hey, this is a bungalow that's over 100 years old and it has these cool features on the ceiling. We had a particular situation where we were asked to get 10 different photos of the staircase on different angles. At first, we didn't understand why, and then we talked to the realtor, and the realtor is like, "Oh yeah, well the home, the sellers actually got this staircase handmade in Canada, and they shipped it over here to Tampa, Florida." Crazy. So just keeping those things in mind helps us understand what we need to look for and capture it at different angles where the light is hitting it differently and it has different views from that particular area that wants to be showed in conjunction with what's next in the room.
Right. And so what else? Like what's another example of some of the architectural details? When I think about like the bungalows and stuff, I think about the front porches and just some of those character details. The ceilings might be a big one. What else?
Well, we also have, depending on the architectural situation of that particular listing, we can look at different ceilings. Sometimes different rooms will have a different type of ceiling in the house. So looking at that and getting photos that the ceiling is also being captured, it's a good way. We always want to have a middle point, but if that's a particular area that wants to be focused and showcased, then we're going to do our best job to kind of level it up a little bit higher so that's also in view.
What do you notice, Leo? I know your eyeballs sort of point to some of the defects, like naturally you look at that. But what are your thoughts as it relates to real estate photography and the stuff you see online? Is there anything that points out from your perspective with your engineering brain?
I just can tell the difference between professional photos and non-professional photos almost immediately. There's so many defects I can see from certain photos, and I'm like, why would you put that in a listing? So when I see a staged room, it gives me depth, it gives me scope, it allows me to see what's going on. So I really like that. The natural lighting coming in, that's very key for me rather than the overhead lights, because the overhead lights are going to distort. Plus, with the overhead lights off and the natural lighting coming in, I can see more about the leaks going on. I can point out, I can see the roof leaks. I can see a lot from well done photographs, and I can see a lot from not well done photographs. So I always laugh at the ones that have the same set of furniture moving from room to room. You know that one.
Yep.
It happens.
I laugh at those because then now I can't tell the difference between bedroom 1 and bedroom 3. I'm like, well, it's the same furniture. Wait, the wall color's different.
I feel like most people might not notice that, but
I would.
yeah, you would.
You know,
for
I
sure.
see so many things. Like, eat something simple. Like, I'm in a mid-century home. I see a picture of the living room. I'm looking at the outlet to see if it's 2 or 3 pronged. That's the level of what I'm looking for in some of these photos. So my eye is looking for completely different things than what other people are
I'm thinking
looking.
to myself, can you even see that in the photos? Like, I'm like, I
can.
don't even notice
You
that.
zoom in.
Yeah, you can zoom in on the good photos. You can zoom in, but I mean, yeah. The other thing too is like on a listing, if it's like a flipper special, I'm usually expecting like 5 photos. If it's a well staged home, I'm expecting between 20 and 30 photos. The weird ones are when they're in subdivisions and you're getting homes of the clubhouse and photos of the central pool and these other things. I'm like, these don't belong in the listing. I can't tell what's house
They
and
do
what's
belong
clubhouse.
at the end.
Yes, I've seen
Yes.
them intermixed.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that drives me crazy, actually. When the photos are all mixed up and there's no natural flow, that drives me insane. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They'll be like, bedroom outside, like
That's
walk
why-
into the house,
that's-
Yes.
bathroom,
That's why I like
kitchen.
the Matterhorn ones when you just kind of like you can walk through the house on the photos.
When I organize, when we get the photos back, we try to strategically organize those in a way that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So MLS regulates that the first picture has to be the front of the house,
Which is awesome.
So we'll try to pick the first best one, and then we'll just sort of maybe show some different angles in the first couple photos, and then we'll try to naturally gravitate them in. So if there's a little foyer area, we're trying to show that. If the next natural place we would want the buyer to go to is the living room or the kitchen, we're going to put it in that order. And then we're just going to organize it where all the main living areas are first. I don't usually like to mix bedrooms, but if it's a big house and there's multiple living areas, I might organize it how you would walk through the home.
Oh, that's
But
good.
For the most part, I'm going to do all the living areas first. You know, like let's say 2,000 square foot house or less. All the living areas first, bedrooms with the primary room first.
Well, when I travel,
all the outside
how I walk
next.
through a home, when I travel, it's basically I knock on someone's door, I say hi, I'm in their foyer, and I ask where their bathroom is. So if I'm going to do it logically how I walk into the house, the front bathroom is the first thing I want to look at.
Don't even get me started on that. I got a text yesterday from one of my homeowners that people are like using the bathroom and not flushing the toilet. And it's not always number one.
If it's yellow, let it mellow.
No, not in someone else's house. Don't do that. 813-377-2775. I have another thought on the photographs. We'll talk about when we come back. 813-377-2775. This is Tampa Home Talk. We'll be right back.
Welcome home. This is Tampa Home Talk. We're getting to my favorite part of the hour, except I'm not going to have a whole bunch of pieces of paper to throw all over the place because I've got these little listings on these little.
Well,
I can't have fun with this.
Printer snafus. The printer's
I can't have
back
fun
now.
with this throwing the papers.
So, one more point I want to talk about as it relates to photography. I've seen this, Isaac. I want to talk about it because I don't know the answer why. You probably will because you know all this random, useless knowledge in your head. But I would ask the photographer first. We had a photographer one time that we used for a while. And then for whatever reason, the photos got weird. And so what I mean by that is, for example, she took a photo of the kitchen, right? And the kitchen was like this cherry wood kitchen, like it had a little bit of a red hue, like a red brown cabinet. but it looked red, like so red, like the colors were off in the photos. And I couldn't figure out why. And we were complaining about it, and the sellers were complaining about it. I'm like, but it doesn't look right. Like the colors are not right in the photo. It's off. Well, what's going on there?
Well, definitely editing.
Yeah.
Editing has to do with that
You have to
change
Photoshop
of colors. Yep.
Yeah.
Also, definitely the time of day that the photos were captured can also influence the lighting that's coming inside of the house. So at different times, that cherry wood cabinets can look a little bit of a either darker or lighter hue, depending on when it was taken.
So are you guys editing that to give it more of a balanced look before you give it back to the real estate pro?
Absolutely. Well, every real estate professional photographer has to professionally edit the photos.
Yes.
So if they're only having the right gear, but they're not professionally editing, it's not professional photos. It was taken with a professional camera, but it's not professional photos.
And that's a big piece. That's a big piece.
Absolutely. So making sure that the professional team is also one that is consistent, because sometimes the photographers themselves will edit the photos. Sometimes they have they outsource the editing of those photos. If it's someone that they get out of Fiverr, to give you a website, depending on what your budget is, you can get a $2 photographer on Fiverr, or you can get a $100 photographer editor on Fiverr. But if you have someone that is consistent, that's not going to happen. We have a in-house editing team that allows us to provide a consistent product.
That matters.
Yes,
It really does.
That also brings up a great concept that I was thinking about earlier. But pictures get tired when they're sitting in the studio too long and they're constantly edited over and over again. They reach their saturation point.
He's great, isn't he? He's like, do you think about these randomly in your head? Or do you have all these jokes memorized? I have to ask. You're so on point.
When I ask the day before who our guest is,
okay,
I start figuring out what kind of potential jokes I can slide in.
So
during
the more
the
notice I give you, the better they're going to get.
No, they're always going to be terrible. But I do need to know in advance, though. And that's why I asked the day before.
I think they're great.
Yeah, you
can prepare.
You send me the show notes, and I don't look at the show notes, but I do know who the guest is, and I come up with 2 or 3 zingers I can throw in.
All right, so let's talk about our listings before we run out of time. We got a really great one coming on the market. I don't think it's on yet. I think it's happening today.
This is in Tarpon Springs. This is 665 Laura Lane, Tarpon Springs. This house is a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bathroom on 1.16 acres of land. This house is so awesome. 1.1 million, by the way.
It's a fantastic
We're
house.
going to do not 1, but 2 open houses. Come see us Sunday, 5/26 from 2 to 5, or Monday, 5/27 from 12 to 3. Again, Tarpon Springs, 665 Laurel Lane. This is a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bathrooms, 1.6 acre house. You're not going to find this anywhere else.
Which is right by our picnic in the park on Saturday.
Oh.
It's tomorrow.
Convenient. I'll be out of town, but convenient.
11 to 3, Fred Howard Park. Come check us out. Come hang out with us and have some fun. We'll do the barbecuing and all the fun and the games. You guys just bring your swimsuit and get to the beach, and we'll be in pavilion number 9. If you're a listener, come and introduce yourself. Let me know you're a listener, and I want to meet you.
Is there a flight there?
There's no flight there. It's not that far.
It could be a flight of beer.
It's Fred Howard Park. It's right off the beach.
Isn't that in Pinellas County?
Yes, North Pinellas County.
Mm-hmm.
Near Tarpon Springs, where you can come after you go to this, you can go straight to the open house from 2 to 5 at 665 Laurel Lane.
Well, it's Sunday, but if you want a sneak peek, we could probably make that happen.
We'll make it happen. And then also up in that region, we have 2024 Melody Drive in Holiday. This is a 2-1 single-family home for $225,000.
Great starter home.
Starter home. And then also in Holiday, another starter home, we have 3634 Dickens Drive in Holiday. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, single-family home. Also a starter home, so you can actually get into a bidding war over the 2024 Melody and the 3634 Dickens. How close are these houses together?
Pretty close. Probably within 5 minutes or so from each other.
They will comp each other, so you know it's a good asking price. If you want to go further north, we have 13117 Marbled Godwid Road in Weeki Wachee. This is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom single-family home for $350,000. How close is this to the river?
Good question. I would say probably within 15 minutes,
Awesome.
maybe 20 minutes.
So you're located on the east side of Weeki Wachee here. It's 13117 Marbled Godwin Road, 3-2 single-family home, 350. What kind of acreage do we have on this one?
That one I think is almost a half acre.
Yeah, I figured with that
Yeah.
price in that area.
Speaking of the river,
Let's head into Tampa. Maybe you don't want to go as far north as Weeki Wachee or Holiday. You want to get closer to Tampa. We have 7135 East Bank Drive. This is a condo.
on the river.
On the river. 2 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms. So when someone knocks on the door when they come visit you from out of town, you can immediately show them their half bathroom.
So the community is on the river, not this unit, but I'll tell you, there's a special assessment the seller's paying. Reserve and milestone inspections are complete on this one, and this is a strong condo financially. The roofers were actually there this week when I went by to get off a jammed lockbox. So.
And it's only $135K. You're not going to find a better deal. We talk about the average price of homes being close to $300,000, $350,000, $400,000. We've got several starter homes at $225,000, and we've got when you're leaving your non-starter home and you want to head back a little bit, and you want to shrink. We've got this condo, $135K, already had its milestone done, already had its structural integrity reserve study. No surprises coming down the pike. Seller is already paying your assessment here.
Yep,
That's awesome.
they are. Let's go to New Tampa.
Yeah, we got 19211 Pelican Ridge Lane. This is a 4-3 private community pool,
Gated.
community. Security guard?
No, just not a man gate, just a gated community.
Just a gated community. Still, though, you got your privacy, $625K, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. I'm very excited about this one. And lastly, right around the corner from there, we have 5909 Wedgefield Drive in Zephyr Hills, 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, another huge home.
Golf course community.
Perfect
for an in-law suite.
Yeah, so if you liked what you heard about any of these listings, make sure that you text us at 813-377-2775. That's 813-377-2775. We'll be more than happy to give you about any of these listings. Hopefully we see you on Saturday for
Yes.
Customer Appreciation Day.
Come see us at our picnic at the park.
Or we see you on
Fred
Sunday
Howard.
in Tarpon Springs from 2 to 5 and 12 to 3.
Fred Howard Park. We'll see you guys Saturday. Love where you live, or we're going to fix it. Welcome home.